Hey, what's up guys? It's Marf and welcome back to another Battlefield Mobile video. Today I have gameplay of the newest playtest. Unfortunately, it is only on Android once again, so I am playing with my LG G8X and it has a Snapdragon 855. So unfortunately, I do not have gameplay at maximum graphics, nor is the frame rate that good, which kind of tells me that the game is kind of unoptimized in my opinion, but I don't really know how powerful the Snapdragon 855 is compared to newer versions of Snapdragon chips. So I don't know if like the performance I'm getting right now is decent or expected, or if it's poor compared to what it should be getting. So unfortunately, there's just no way for me to gauge it. All I can tell you is that based off of this being a flagship chip from only a couple years ago, it does seem like the optimization in this game is still pretty bad. Hopefully they'll fix it in a future update, but what I am looking forward to is hopefully trying this out on my iPhone 12 Pro Max, because I can assume that's going to be a lot better of an experience. But anyway, let's talk about what's new with this playtest, because there is a lot. Firstly, there are two new maps, and these maps are completely new for the Battlefield franchise. First, we have Survey 6, which is an Arctic research base, kind of like, I believe, Hammerhead from Battlefield 4. I mean, it's a completely different map and location if I know correctly, but just sort of the general vibe of a snowy mountain map with a research center in the middle of it. Next up, we have Trinity Mark, which again is completely new to Battlefield, and this is a like mining operations center in some sort of desert slash canyon area, and it's mostly an industrial complex with lots of verticality. And honestly, I'm really excited for this map because it reminds me of maps from like Battlefield 2, Battlefield Play for Free, Battlefield 3, those sort of older modern military maps. So I'm really excited about this map. But because these maps are new to Battlefield, I don't know how well they're going to play when you're playing with like Battlefield veterans, because a lot of the people I was running into seemed like either they were bots or just not really good at playing on mobile. So it's hard for me to gauge like how well these maps play with actual like players in it. But these maps do have a lot of issues, which we'll talk about in a bit. But again, let's go over everything new. And next, let's talk about game modes, because that is my favorite part about this update. We finally have Rush, which, as you know, is my favorite mode in any Battlefield franchise, and I'm so happy it's being brought to Battlefield Mobile, and it seems like they're really trying to make this a good game mode as well. But besides Rush, we also have two team deathmatches. One of them is normal team deathmatch, 16v16, and the other one is team deathmatch small. And finally, let's talk about all the new weapons. We have the QBZ-95, which is from Battlefield 4, the M1911, which is a long-running gun throughout the Battlefield franchise, the P90, which I believe was introduced in Battlefield 3, the G36C, another modern military weapon that is a staple throughout the Battlefield franchise, the CZ75, which is a pistol from Battlefield 4, and the PKP, which is a LMG that again is from a lot of Battlefield games. So a lot of these weapons are very nice to see in Battlefield Mobile because they are fan favorites. Hopefully we'll be seeing more of those down the line. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to play with a lot of these weapons because I'm still leveling up and getting to them. The QBZ-95 is the weapon you'll be seeing the most throughout this video because that is the new default. And yes, the F2000 and some of the other guns that have been in the previous playtest are still here, but all the guns that I just mentioned are just in addition to the ones we already have, which is nice to see. So let's talk about gameplay, because in my opinion that is the most important, and unfortunately, unlike the content, it doesn't seem like we've gotten very far since the last playtest. This game still feels very janky. It still feels like an indie game. The animations are very rough. They're not very smooth at all. The movement doesn't feel that great, and one of the worst things about this game in my opinion is the way that your finger interacts with looking around. It feels like there's large gaps in between like the different sensitivities, as well as when you're actually moving your finger around, it doesn't feel smooth at all. So trying to aim like with a sniper rifle and get some really pinpoint precisions is just not possible. Your crosshair or your like wherever you're looking at jumps from place to place, and there's no smooth, I guess, interpolation between the like different notches of where you're looking at on screen. So it's very hard to aim in this game a lot of the times because it's just so jumpy. It's not smooth at all. I assume that this is something to do with the Unreal Engine that they're developing it on. Hopefully they can smooth that out. But in addition to things that are very hard to do, the UI is incredibly terribly optimized for mobile. The buttons are extremely small. They all have tiny little hitboxes, so if you like click just barely out of wherever the letter is. It just takes you to a different menu or completely changes what you're looking at, which is really annoying. So navigating through the UI is really frustrating, and the button sizes need to be increased, and the general responsiveness needs to be improved as well. There are also a lot of bugs, which is to be expected. So things like collision issues, like I fell through the map a couple of times, some hit reg issues, and again, I am playing this in a region that is not where I'm at, so the ping was pretty high, so I'm not gonna like fault that too much. But general things like physics issues, lag, and just general lack of optimization are things that I'm kind of worried about. They said the release date for this game was going to be in 2022. I hope that they mean late into 2022, because in my opinion, this game is nowhere near ready for launch. It has potential if they add new content, fix optimization, and do a lot to the movement and just general look and feel of the game, then I think that this has a lot of potential to be one of the best mobile games ever made. But in my opinion, at the moment, it just doesn't feel very good at all. Something I'm going to compare this to is the recently released Apex Legends Mobile, because when you play that game just after playing Battlefield Mobile, it is a night and day difference. Everything is so much smoother there. The UI is a lot better. I know it's developed by a completely different studio, but Apex Legends Mobile really feels like they got everything right with transferring the look and feel of that game straight to mobile. Whereas with Battlefield Mobile, it truly feels like something different. It doesn't really feel like a proper Battlefield game, in my opinion, and that mostly comes down to the map design and the just look and feel of it, because yes, I know you're on mobile, but the movement is very clunky, the UI is not very good, and there's still a lot of things that need to be fleshed out in order for this game to look like a Battlefield game, because at the moment, everyone running around is the exact same soldier, and the UI, at least on screen, is really clunky. It's hard to see a lot of things going on. And I know that I'm saying a lot of bad things about this game, but again, if their planned launch date is like late into 2022, then that means they have a lot of time to fix things and improve things, which I really hope that they do, because again, I can see the potential here. But I want to talk about map design for a second, especially when it comes to Rush, because it is my favorite game mode, and unfortunately, most of the positions of the MCONs on these new maps is just terrible. They are just placed right out in the open with no cover, and one of the worst things about this game is the destructibility. I know that Battlefield has sort of centered and marketed the destructibility in recent years, but I don't like destructibility, or destruction, I guess, in Battlefield, because it just removes cover and it makes the entire map flat. Now, luckily on Trinity Mark, while a lot of the walls are destructible, most of them aren't, because that would just ruin the complete function of the map, and especially on Survey 6 as well, there isn't too much destruction. But in general, I think that they should reduce the amount of destruction in some of the key areas, especially with the buildings that house the MCOMs, and with those MCOMs, they really need to add cover right next to them, because when you're trying to plant and there's like 6 enemies that just have open sightlines to you, it's really impossible. But overall, the like flow of where the MCOMs are, I think, are good, except for on Survey 6. They transition from being like right on top of each other to being on complete opposite sides out in the open in the snow, which again is really annoying. Unfortunately, because a lot of the players I'm playing against are not very good, it's really hard for me to determine whether or not these maps actually will work. I'm just assuming, based off of the location of the MCOMs, the experience I've had when I've encountered some good players, and my previous Battlefield experience, to understand that most of these MCOM placements are not good at all, and that they should be changed. And that is the real takeaway for me for Rush. If they change where the MCOMs are located, I think it will be a much better experience. But overall, it is shaping up to be a better game. Really, this update just seemed like they added a lot more content, but in the future, if they focus on the other things like the optimization, movement, and just look and feel of the game, I think that this game will have a lot of potential to be one of the best mobile games ever released, and I'm hoping that they do that. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the current playtest of Battlefield Mobile in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys later.